Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the 11th race of the season for the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. You know that old movie quote? I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Can't say that today, as we are here at the Midwestern Mile and a Half, getting ready for what should be some great speedway action. We've seen these guys in practice, multi-groove racing, so expecting the same once the green flag drops for tonight's 134 lapper. I'm Seth Cole, being joined by Kyle Lawrence. And, Kyle, we were kind of looking forward to anticipating this race here tonight. These drivers have been treated to short tracks. We were at Darlington last week, which has a lot of aspects of short track racing. Now, here tonight, it's really going to be just about raw speed.
Yeah, it's been a while, Seth, since we've seen these drivers on just like a fast speedway. The last time I could think they were at like a fast sort of speedway was almost 6 or 7 weeks ago when they were at Atlanta. In between Atlanta and now they went to Circuit of the Americas. They went to all those sort of short tracks you were mentioning there, Seth. They've been to Richmond, Martinsville, Bristol, Dover, Darlington. It's been a long couple of weeks for some of these drivers, but now they're on this faster paced track. So I'm expecting long green flag runs and a lot of strategy out there tonight, Seth, and saving tires, of course, as well.
It's the third mile and a half that these drivers will have taken to this season. The closest mile and a half track to this one that they previously were at was at Las Vegas. Boyd Hogan going to victory lane there. Boyd comes into this race with 3 wins. Last week we saw Christopher Hill pick up his second win of the season. So right now those two, the only ones that have multiple wins on the season. Are we looking at those two as the favorites, or maybe does a third driver jump up there into the multi-win column?
Legacy esports just as a whole has been strong throughout the season. So I would look out for any one of those legacy esport drivers. And then I would look out for maybe someone like a TJ Crampton, maybe, or a Braxton DeWeese, maybe up there to compete. Maybe Agnell Phillip, Andrew Navarro starting on the front row. Those are two guys we might talk about a lot tonight.
Andrew Navarro out of the drill spill gets the pole position here this evening. He comes into this race sixth in the points. He is a former winner this season as well. He is, if my math is correct, 25 points ahead of the cut line. And yes, certainly a victory here tonight would help to keep him above that cut line. We keep mentioning it, not a win you're in system. You have to rely on consistency as well as wins to keep yourself up in the top 10 in the point standings. As we take a look at the starting lineup with the Chevrolet Silverado pace truck leading them off of pit lane, and a pretty packed field here tonight. A couple of drivers we haven't seen in the last few weeks making their return to the series. 24 drivers going to roll off the grid, and of course as well, we do have a stage break in this one. Going to be the completion of lap 30 when that stage break will happen, give drivers the opportunity to be able to make adjustments. And I would have to assume the adjustments that they're going to make here today going to be a far cry from the adjustments they made on their trucks when we were at tracks like Darlington, Dover, Richmond, Martinsville, and Bristol.
I can see a lot of these drivers adjusting to maybe have their trucks working a little better on that high side. I've learned from racing here, Kansas, once you get a couple laps on those tires, that high line is just very dominant here, Seth. So look to see a lot of drivers moving up to the high line early.
Also seen some early cautions in the last couple of weeks, but then once we seem to get past the end of that stage, we settle into long green flag runs in Kansas. Most mile and a half tracks are very well known for that. We might end up seeing some strategy play out in the closing stages, but Andrew Navarro and Agnell Phillip bring us down, and race 11 for the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series is green. And we're already spinning. That's Braxton DeWeese through the infield grass. No caution already out of the gate. DeWeese running into some problems.
Caution is now out on the speedway for the incident there. It was 3 wide for third place coming off of the corner. I don't know if Braxton DeWeese really has too much damage. Looks like he might have some nose damage and some damage on the right front. Not the start he wanted here, Seth. We were talking about before the race started. Braxton DeWeese coming into this race 10th in points. He's currently the driver on the bubble. If the playoffs would to start today, Braxton DeWeese would be the last driver in, and Kyle Myers would be the first driver out. But this is going to hurt those chances here.
See if we can find out where the initial contact was. He rolled off from the 7th position. Hit Braxton DeWeese on the grid. Truck behind him, I believe, is the 81 of Kyle Myers, and it almost looked like they just stacked up there on the initial start. I don't know if the 42 waited a little bit longer to get going, or if somebody in the second or third row tried to anticipate the green flag, but definitely was a bit of stacking up of bumpers there for the first couple of rows.
I've been looking over it a couple of times here, and it looks like Seth Navarro hit the gas, and when he hit the gas, his left side tires were right on that white line, so he got a little loose and didn't get going as quick as he wanted to, and Hogan was already ready to go. Boyd Hogan saw that he hit the gas, so he slammed the gas, and he hit Navarro in the bumper when that happened, and it caused a huge chain reaction. Jurgensen got on the brakes, then DeWeese got on the brakes, and Myers getting in the back of DeWeese just sent him through the grass, unfortunately. A very tough break for that number 8 machine. It looks like Jurgensen might have some front-end damage from this incident as well. He hit the back end of the 96 pretty hard.
This is on board with Braxton DeWeese. And he had a pretty good dent in his back bumper, which means probably some pretty good front-end damage on the 81 of Kyle Myers. So there's about 3 or 4 trucks that were on that inside line for the initial start of this race that will, out of the gate, probably be having to deal with damage in some way, shape, or form. And in both cases, front and rear end damage, that is going to hurt a driver in terms of handling. If you've got that damage to the front end, then that's going to run into issues of possible straightaway speed being lost. Maybe, depending on where the damage is, maybe some overheating problems with the high speeds these drivers carry. But then on the flip side, you have damage on the back end. That spoiler kind of out of the air. You lose a lot of downforce and might be a little loose off the corner in the early going.
You might be a little loose in the early going indeed. I'm just taking another look at these vehicles. It looked like Boyd Hogan had came down pit road to get some repairs from that incident. I'm looking at Jurgensen's car, Nathan Jurgensen's front end. He definitely has a pretty flat front end right now, so I feel like that's really going to affect his speed. And Kyle Myers has already exited the race, it looks like. It looks like he's off track. The driver of the number 81 coming into this race, the first guy out of the playoffs in 11th place. We didn't even make it to turn 1, Seth, and we already have a lot of heavy hitters with either damage or out of the race, like Kyle Myers.
It's huge too, because for Kyle Myers, the last couple of weeks have really been good for him. He had that victory a few weeks ago at Dover, followed it up with another solid outing last week at Darlington, so certainly was riding some really good momentum, and if indeed it's an early exit for him here tonight, to your point, gonna hurt him at least for the time being in his attempt to get up inside of the top 10 in the point standings. So a tough break for him. A couple of other drivers that were on pit lane, obviously Braxton DeWeese getting some repairs done, and also the 9 of Channing Balu was on pit lane. I believe he started on the outside of his row, so don't know if maybe the outside row had some stack up as well and he got some damage. So about 3 or 4 drivers coming down, making some repairs to their trucks, but 3 of them, Hogan, DeWeese, Balut, they've returned back to the track. 23 drivers on the lead lap as we prepare for our first restart of the evening.
Here they go. Green flag is out for Andrew Navarro. A lot better of a restart this time. Christopher Hill right next to the number 94 going into 1 and 2. Jurgensen was not ready at all for that restart. Christopher Pfeffer all over his bumper heading into 1 and 2.
Hill's going to clear for second. Cooley's going to clear for third, at least in the early going. Looks like the longer way around the racetrack, the top side, not the place to be. Agnew Phillip, who was second on the restart, now back to fourth, in danger of losing that. Here comes Tanner Love, and already there's a couple of guys way up high, wide, and handsome against the wall. I believe that is Pfeffer in the 66 leading that charge.
Yeah, I was watching Christopher Pfeffer. Seems to have a lot of speed. He was really working that truck in qualifying, even spun out in qualifying, was able to rebound and get a decent starting spot in that number 66 machine. He seems to have a lot of speed, and he really knows how to work that high lane. TJ Crampton not too far behind him, also making moves on the high side.
On board there with Agnew Phillip as he's making his way around the top side. Got by Tanner Love. Now he puts Christopher Hill in his rearview mirror. Will Cooley, though, was able to hook the bottom, so he'll hang on to second place for the moment. All this going on behind the race leader, Andrew Navarro.
Navarro has that clean air right now and just riding the bottom. I think that's the best way to do it. That's one thing I've learned from just the couple of races I've done. You kind of want to run the bottom just for the first couple of laps. Just take it easy on those tires. Don't overheat them. And then you can move up to the high side, and you're just going to fly up there, Seth, depending on how your car is set up, though.
But there was not much space between the right side of Christopher Pfeffer's truck That Toyota Tundra and the outside save for barrier there for 3 and 4. Let's see if he migrates up there again in 1 and 2. Not quite as high. Has his left sides, actually looks like he's got maybe all 4 tires in that somewhat dark gray area there, the middle of the racetrack. But look at the momentum it gave him off of 2 to cross the inside of Jurgensen. That's for 6th place.
Good move from the number 66 of Christopher Pfeffer. He's almost able to clear Jurgensen off the corner. Jurgensen gets a slight run, but now he's 100% clear of him. Jurgensen's now going to fall in behind him. Pfeffer still gave him the lane up top, but now he's clear, and caution is out on the speedway.
Richard Malugani has gone around. It looks like just past the start-finish line, heading towards turn 1.
I was looking at that. It kind of looked like it was 3 wide coming across the line, and Hassler and the number 86 of Malugani just kind of got together with Boyd Hogan on the inside.
Malugani 14th in points, 69 points behind the cut line, and here's a look at it off of turn 4. Mentioned a couple of drivers that we haven't seen the last couple of weeks taking part here tonight. One of them, Corey Hassler, and involved here in the second caution of the day. To be honest, I think Hassler got the worst end of that. I think he took the hardest shot on the right side of his truck into the outside wall.
Yeah, Hassler and that number 25 machine definitely took a hard hit to the outside wall. But it just looked like to me Malugani was giving room to the number 96 of Hogan in case if he came up the track. And I don't know if the 25 necessarily knew there were 3 wide, but it's a very close racing there, and they ended up getting hooked together.
Almost looks like there when Boyd Hogan makes the move to the inside, Malugani moves up to give him the room. And there's that transition from the apron to the banking, that white line there. It almost seemed like when he moved up and straddled that white line, it upset his truck and just had it kind of plow up into the car to his outside, the truck to his outside, Corey Hassler.
You know, it's a very tough break for Hassler, the driver, the number 25. Very hard hit to the outside wall. Malugani with pretty decent damage as well on his number 86 machine. Like I said, just making room, it looked like, for Boyd Hogan, who's been making his way through the field since that last restart, Seth. Hogan and Deweese already up to 15th and 16th when they were outside the top 20 on that last restart.
I was going to bring that up, that both of those drivers picked up multiple positions there on that restart, but I believe they did it with equal footing, the same number of lap on their tires as everybody else, because 134 laps here tonight, and these drivers, aside from the set that they start this race on, only have 3 additional sets on pit lane. With how early that caution was just on the very first lap, I very much doubt that any of those drivers that were down pit road for repairs also would have been willing to waste a set of tires right then and there, leaving them with only 2 sets for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, Braxton and Hogan both skipped on the tires there, Seth, as they weren't even a full lap into the run yet. Deweese, you had to be a little bit concerned about because he did take that spin into the infield, but they both did decide to skip on the tires on that initial stop.
Saw right there just a moment ago. Good news, Kyle Myers is back in the server, so it might have been some connection problems or something that he had. He lost 3 laps, though, due to the time that he fell out to the time that he returned. Gets one of them back as the lucky dog under this caution, so he'll need a couple more yellows to get back on the lead lap. But a driver that we were looking at that had a shot here this evening to get up above the cut line if he had a good finish, and then all of a sudden looked like maybe he was going to lose ground. All of a sudden there's a little glimmer of hope, because still a long ways to go in this race.
A long way to go indeed, Seth, but you have to keep in mind this. We were talking about this in pre-race. A track like Kansas usually produces very long green flag runs, so it's quite surprising that we already have 2 cautions this early on in the race. But that's something that Myers might need to be a little worried about, especially with Malugani and Hassler both only 1 lap down in front of him, so they're both going to get the lucky dog before he does.
Do you think the driver mentality changes just a little bit with the track we're at today based off of where we've been in the past? You have to consider that last week we were at Darlington, the week before we were at Dover, and those are kind of tracks where we talk about race the competition, but you also have to race the racetrack. Here today, a little bit more wiggle room in what you're able to do, the moves you're able to make, and so maybe drivers racing a little bit more aggressively since they have that little bit of a safety net.
Yeah, I can already see that a little bit, Seth. A lot of drivers enjoy Kansas. Personally, for me, Kansas is one of my favorite mile-and-a-half tracks. Kansas, Chicagoland, Charlotte. There's just certain tracks that people really enjoy and really like to race at. And if you enjoy a racetrack and you're confident at a racetrack, your tendencies are going to be aggressive at a track like that because you're just so confident in the way you're driving around the racetrack. So expect aggressive moves throughout the race, but hopefully they can clean it up a little bit here just to get your green flag run going.
We're doubled back up here, getting ready for our second restart of the day. It will be on lap 14. Andrew Navarro showing the way. Will Cooley will line up to his outside on the front row. Agno Phillip, Christopher Hill in row 2. Then Christopher Pfeffer, Tanner Love, TJ Crampton, Nathan Jurgensen, Jamie Knopf, and Daniel Simmons. That's going to be your top 10 when we go back green. Richard Malugani, for the time being, does not show up on the telemetry. Currently in the 23rd position, 2 laps down. Also 2 laps down, Kyle Myers after getting the free pass. And Corey Hassler continues to sit on pit lane, getting repairs done to his Ford. Getting ready to get that iRacing pace car back to pit road. Hopefully we won't see him for a while until we need him for the end of the stage. Andrew Navarro through the restart zone, ready to get back up through the gears.
Green flag is out. Phillip spun the tires, it looked like, on that restart there. Was very loose when he hit the gas. But Navarro off to a phenomenal restart. Already almost a half a second out in front going into turns 1 and 2 as the battle is on for second on back.
Double wide for second, double wide for fourth, and then almost 3 wide for a moment with Pfeffer taking a look to the top line. He'll slot back to 6. Will Cooley not willing to give up the second spot to Agno Phillip. They continue that side-by-side off of turn 4. Neither one going to give an inch. Might be a photo finish here to the line for who's going to be second place. Cooley by a splitter got it that time. And as they battle, they are closing up on Andrew Navarro. So all of a sudden, the race leader who had, 3-4 truck lengths, all of a sudden, everybody's knocking on the door.
I would also keep in mind that Navarro sees those drivers battling behind him. If we get a long green flag run, it's going to be all about saving those tires. So maybe he sees those two battling and behind him is just taking it really easy as Phillip and Cooley are battling awfully hard off the corner. But they're keeping up with the 42 and Navarro. But Cooley might be able to clear him going into the corner. He has a pretty decent advantage.
Riding on board there with fourth place Christopher Hill, and you saw he had his hands full up on that top side. Left, right, trying to make sure he kept the rear end of that truck underneath him. So these guys aren't out for just a little Sunday drive. These guys are working for every bit of speed they can.
Christopher Hill trying to get in that third lane, trying to get some grip up there in that number 99 machine. His teammate Pfeffer not too far behind him. Cooley going to go underneath the line here. Might be able to clear Phillip this time in turns 1 and 2. He was close last time.
Drivers utilizing that apron on the front straightaway. It can gain them about 2 or 3 tenths as opposed to being up above the white line. And just about the majority of the field that lap, I believe, all ran down on the apron. So that will certainly be something to keep an eye on near the end of this race in case we have ourselves a good battle in the final laps to take the checkered flag this evening. Top 2 now get single file. It's going to be Agno Phillip and Christopher Hill to battle for third place with Pfeffer looking on. A lot of Legacy Esports drivers right there you could throw a blanket over.
Very hard racing between these Legacy Esports drivers right here. Phillip on the inside, Hill up high, Pfeffer and Love right in behind him. This is some good battles right now, and Cooley's right on the bumper, and Navarro just keeping that pressure on the number 42 right now.
Be careful off the corner at the 1.5 miles. That top side driver wants to be able to turn low off the outside wall while that driver on the inside is going to push up a little bit. And a lot of times we'll see drivers off of 2 and 4 want that same piece of real estate, which can lead to yellows. But so far, this side-by-side battle continues. Looks like maybe now Christopher Hill going to win it, but it took about a lap and a half for him to finally clear Agno Phillip, who at least right now seems to be one of the few drivers committed to that inside line. Just about everybody else inside the top 10 has jumped up to the top.
Everybody's beginning to jump up top. Those tires are beginning to come in, so they're all beginning to move up to the top side. Seeing some of those leaders moving down to the bottom right there, maybe trying to cool down those tires a little bit. Because when you're up high, there's just not really any grip up there. So you're constantly burning off tires up there, Seth, on that high side.
Corey Hassler has returned back to the racetrack. He is 6 laps down, so right now 23 of our 24 drivers are still running, 21 of them currently on the lead lap as we continue to watch this battle for the 4th position. Tanner Love, Agno Phillip, and add that bright yellow 31 of Nathan Jurgensen into the mix.
I've been impressed by Jurgensen doing as well as he has with that very slight nose damage. It's very slight. It's not too big of a deal, but he's been able to contend fairly well so far in that number 31 machine as you see him right behind Love on that high side.
You can barely see that damage you're describing there on the nose of his Chevy Silverado. Looking back from 5th place, Tanner Love, and ooh, back behind them, a little bit of crowding going on there. I believe that was Jamie Knopf and TJ Crampton that were almost rubbing doors for a brief moment there. Oh, Knopf's into the wall off of turn 2. So he got run out of room not once but twice in the last half lap.
Jamie Knopf coming off a good run last week at Darlington, gets the wall pretty hard off turns 1 and 2 and had to kind of send it himself back into the wall so there wasn't an incident. Very close racing, 3 wide across the line. Almost an incident between, it looked like Hogan and Villalobos almost get together again. The 45 and the number 96. Hogan continues to make these moves up to the front. He's up to the 11th spot now, and Braxton DeWeese is up to 10th right in front of him. As DeWeese gets sideways off the corner, Hogan's going to be able to jump up in front of him going into 3 and 4.
I thought for a brief moment that was DeWeese getting out of Hogan's way, but you're right, he was flat sideways off of turn 2. Great save by the driver of the 8, as right now Hogan and DeWeese are about to both enter into the top 10 after receiving damage from the initial caution at the drop of the green to start this race. And I'll tell you who's on the move is that 66 of Christopher Pfeffer. He used the top side to get around his teammate Hill for 3rd. Looks to challenge Will Cooley, but now using the inside line, losing ground. Ooh, we got his left front down on that white line, so I get a little squirrely. That's going to lose him momentum and lose him that 3rd spot. Now Tanner Love jumps to the top for 4th place.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do here at Kansas, Seth. If you touch one tire on that white line, you're just going to get sideways and get out of shape immediately in that 66 machine. You saw it there in turns 3 and 4. He even got the white line a little bit right there in 1 and 2. It might have slowed him up a little bit coming off the corner even as he loses another spot. Back to 5th. A couple of laps ago, he would look like he was about to take away the 2nd position from Will Cooley. Made it past Christopher Hill fairly easily, but now he's dropping back a little bit after that mistake 1 lap ago.
Andrew Navarro about to bypass Corey Hassler, put him a 7th lap down, and that might have actually hurt him in more ways than helped him, because you saw through 3 and 4 last time he had to run the bottom. That was so he could get clean air to the nose and not be in the wake of the draft of the 25. Everybody else ran the top side, and you can see visibly they were able to close up the gap as a result.
Some pretty close racing still up here at the front. I'm surprised how well these drivers have kept together for the most part. We're almost 30 laps into the race, around 20 laps into this run. These drivers have kept together fairly well up here at the front.
Right now, James Edens, the 52, is in the final spot that would get stage points. Braxton DeWeese trying to catch him here, so both of those drivers looking for that one valuable stage point, which will be awarded in the next 3 laps or so. DeWeese up to the top side, Edens on the bottom. Going to give it to Edens at least for the moment off of turn 4, but you talked about Braxton DeWeese, 10th in points. That is the last guy above the cut line. That is a very dangerous, somewhat nerve-wracking place to be. You want to have as much insurance between you and that cut line, and whichever driver is first below that cut line. And even that one stage point could be important for the 8 truck.
Every point matters here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series when it comes to playoffs. Yeah, you mentioned it, Seth. It could come down to just 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. It could be very close on that bubble. We've seen very hard racing between a lot of these drivers all season long, and it's very consistent racing out there as well. As we might have a battle for the lead here momentarily. Here comes Will Cooley on Andrew Navarro. He's really made up all that time.
Nathan Jurgensen's fallen back. Pretty sure he was into the outside wall. He drops from 7th back to 9th here in the closing stages of the first stage of the day. Cooley trying to get his first stage win on the season, but Andrew Navarro trying to make that truck as wide as possible. Next time by, we should see the caution fly for the completion of the stage.
Cooley's pushing it, though. He's really trying to get this stage victory. It's going to be close. He has a little more speed than Navarro right now, but he just can't find the place to get past him right now.
Andrew Navarro looking for his second stage victory, got his first back at Martinsville, where he went on to win that race. Cooley going to give one last attempt out of turn 4, may have gotten into his back bumper to get him a little loose. Tries to side draft, but Navarro by about half a truck length is going to pick up the stage victory. Now these guys have to keep racing until the caution comes out.
Caution's still not out. These drivers still battling it out for the race lead, and Cooley's going to take the lead off of the corner. Will Cooley has the race lead.
I think Navarro said, go ahead and take it. I've got the stage win locked up. You want that position so bad now. We know that the yellow flag's coming out. Go ahead and take the spot.
And there's the caution flag. The caution flag waves here to end the stage.
So Navarro was the winner of the stage. Cooley will be second. Christopher Hill in third. Tanner Love fourth. Christopher Pfeffer was fifth. Agnell Phillip, TJ Crampton, Boyd Hogan, Nathan Jurgensen, and James Edens. Those were the 10 drivers that get stage points here today. And now it's time for the crews to go to work and maybe make the necessary adjustments for drivers to put themselves in a position to win here today. But yeah, going back to that Andrew Navarro stat, only one other stage victory. He went on to win that race at Martinsville, so that's a driver that's certainly hoping that lightning strikes twice.
I'm expecting everybody to come down pit road right here, and here they come. Here comes led by the 00 of Will Cooley down pit lane, and a couple of those guys were pretty fast getting into pit road. It looked like green flag pit stops with the way those drivers were coming in.
There's a lot of tire smoke. I think Pfeffer was one driver and TJ Crampton was another, where I saw a lot of smoke coming off of those front tires. But they're going to change them. They don't need them anymore. And we'll see here with Andrew Navarro giving up that spot to Will Cooley, if having the #1 pit stall as the pole sitter, if that's going to help him here to maybe win the battle off pit road again, as I believe Boyd Hogan may have overshot his stall just a little bit. We'll see how that translates in spots lost.
Yeah, I saw that. Look like Hogan overshot his box a little bit, and there they come off pit road, and it looks like it's going to be Navarro. Navarro barely hit Cooley.
That was, I don't even think that was a splitter. I think that was half a splitter.
That was super close coming off pit road between the 42 and the 00, but Navarro is able to get back into the race lead. The driver, the number 42, started on pole. He's led the whole race so far, and he's back in the lead here on caution number 3 for the stage break. Will Cooley in second, Christopher Hill in third, Tanner Love in fourth, and Christopher Pfeffer is in fifth.
Channing Ballew's coming out in sixth, and it's because he went with a 2-tire stop. Not sure how I feel about that strategy. He's the only driver that elected to try that. I don't know. If it works out, I guarantee you everybody else around him is going to take note of that when we come down to the money stop. If, let's say, they only have to put in half a can of fuel, they might actually go with just right sides only. So I guess we'll call Channing Ballew the guinea pig here for the time being to see if this strategy holds him at least up inside of the top 10 on the long run.
Yeah, Ballew started up there in the top 10 driver, or actually not in the top 10, actually started top 15, I mean, starting in the 15th position. Channing Ballew, maybe trying to get some of that track position back, and you were saying it's that a lot of these drivers see if they see that work, they might try it out later, and that might be exactly why Ballew is trying it out right now. The driver of the number 9 machine trying out this 2-tire strategy right now to see how well it could work for a potential run later in the race.
Well, we saw Corey Hassler lose a lap on that green flag run to the stage caution. He will gain that back as the recipient of the lucky dog. So he will be -6 when we go back green. Kyle Myers, who had returned back to the server, it looks like he may actually now officially be out of this race. He will be scored in 23rd, joining Richard Malugani back in the garage area. So he picks up a spot, picks up a couple of points there, but night that he was looking for sure. The former winner and the driver that is first just outside of the top 10 in the point standing. So Andrew Navarro lines up as the race leader for this final stage to the checkers. Will Cooley in second. Christopher Hill, Tanner Love, and Christopher Pfeffer. That's your top five. Agnell Phillip in sixth. TJ Crampton seventh. Boyd Hogan lost 2 spots on pit road, so he'll restart in eighth. Braxton DeWeese is up in ninth, and James Edens is going to complete the top 10. Now all the early race jitters are out. We've seen this the last couple of weeks where we've had a caution or two in the first stage, but then it seems as soon as we enter into that second stage, everybody realizes, all right, let's settle in for long runs, and that's when the pit strategy starts to come into play.
You know, a lot of the drivers in the field just maybe trying to get those stage points, racing very hard in that opening stage. And that's why we usually end up seeing these cautions early on. We'll have to see what happens here in the second half of the race, well, the second stage of the race.
21 drivers still on the lead lap of the 22 still in this race. Andrew Navarro has been really good on the starts and restarts. We'll see if he can get another one here as H-Truck ready to make that left-hand turn to pit road. And at the completion of lap 35 onto 36, we are back underway at the Kansas Speedway.
Green flag is back out, and Cooley immediately dropped down in front of Hill. There was maybe a magazine between those two drivers. Very close call for Cooley, getting right down in front of the 99 of Hill.
Truck on the outside is Tanner Love in the 28. He's going to battle with Agnell Phillip for that 5th position as nose to tail, single file top 4, right down against that white line. Pfeffer moves up off it just the least little bit. Might be trying to block both the 94 and the 28 still side by side with each other.
Good battlings right there, trying to maybe get some good track position for this potential long green flag run, trying to set themselves up. The battling continues around that 6th spot. Here comes Boyd Hogan in the number 96 machine, trying to get past his teammate of Tanner Love.
Mentioned the fact that the last time that these drivers were at a track, a mile-and-a-half track of this type of configuration was back very early on in the season at Las Vegas. Boyd Hogan was the winner of that event, so obviously I would assume a similar setup here today at Kansas as he ran back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And we've seen, even though he had some early struggles, that truck is fast, cut up through the field very quickly, and continuing to march his way forward.
Yeah, Hogan's showing off a lot of speed here early, trying to get back up to the front. He started up near the front and had to go to the back to get some damage repair after that initial accident on lap number 1. And he's finally back up here trying to compete for this race win. And Hill's going to go for the lead in 1 and 2 as they're 3 wide for 3rd behind him.
That's going to be Pfeffer, Agnell Phillip, and Will Cooley. Cooley backs out of that one as Hill trying to pick up his 2nd straight victory and 3rd on the season. Going to work on Andrew Navarro. This is outside of Will Cooley's pass on the top side at the close of the first stage. This is really the first challenge that Andrew Navarro has had to deal with for the race lead today.
Hill is looking to take it away from Navarro on that inside lane, but he's not quite able to clear him. Navarro not giving him too much space on that high side. Navarro's going to get the run off and hang on to the lead for now as they're battling behind these drivers as well.
No surprise to see a number of these drivers running well here today. I mentioned that Boyd Hogan won at Las Vegas, while Pfeffer finished 2nd. Andrew Navarro, our pole sitter, finished 3rd, and the guy going for lead, Christopher Hill, finished up inside the top 5 as we've got trouble. No, an unscheduled pit stop for Will Cooley in the 00.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here, Seth. The 00 of Will Cooley has came down pit lane. I'm not sure what it is here. Maybe he has a black flag penalty. I'm not sure why he'd be coming down pit road here.
We have another unscheduled stop as well. The 31 of Nathan Jurgensen about 3 laps ago came down pit lane and still sits in his stall.
You have to wonder if maybe that nose damage that he did not get repaired, maybe it had hurt his engine underneath that last run. And just to follow up on the 00 of Cooley, it looked like he had maybe a pass-through penalty, just drove through pit lane in the double zero machine. We did notice that he jumped down way before the start finish line to the bottom side. Maybe that is a black flag here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series.
Possible lane change penalty. That is a tough break for a driver that for sure was one that we were looking at that would have been in the conversation for this checkered flag. Now, obviously, this race is not over. He only had to pass through, did not have to stop, so he is still on the lead lap. The caution comes out, he'd bunch back up with the leaders, and much like we've seen Boyd Hogan be able to work his way from the back to the front, Will Cooley would probably be able to do the same, as Andrew Navarro, still out in front, now has quite a gap back to Agnew Phillip, and all of a sudden that challenge that Christopher Hill had for the race lead, that is dissipated. He's not only not battling for the race lead, he's now been shuffled back to the third spot.
I honestly think Christopher Hill maybe had just backed off. I think he was going to get up there and maybe try to make that move for the lead, and if he wasn't able to make that pass immediately, he was going to back off and pull those tires back down to the number 99 machine. No need in wasting those tires this early on in the run.
Riding on board with sixth place, that's your Daytona winner, TJ Crampton, and last week was not kind to TJ at Darlington. Went into that race second in points, left fourth in the standings. Still very close though, second through fourth in the points coming into today's event. 66 points behind the points leader Boyd Hogan is Christopher Pfeffer, but it's only 5 points back to Christopher Hill, and then only 16 points back to TJ Crampton. So depending on what happens here today, those three could swap positions once again heading into Iowa next week.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good battle for the points lead all season long so far here, Seth. And Crampton's been hanging around with those legacy esports drivers who have just been so dominant throughout the season.
Just joining us, we worked 2 cautions in the first stage and just can't help but be impressed by the comeback runs of 7th and 8th place running Boyd Hogan and Braxton DeWeese. Both of them were involved in a stack-up on the inside line on the initial start of this race, lap 1. Both came down pit road, made repairs. Both, I believe Boyd Hogan did get stage points. Braxton DeWeese was just on the outside of the top 10, but you never know that these two had run into problems early. Both of them still up to speed, still fighting up here, and still in the conversation for good finishes.
Yeah, both these drivers definitely still in the conversation for good finishes, top 10s, maybe even top 5s, maybe even a win in Boyd Hogan's case. Boyd Hogan definitely has a lot of speed, but he's kind of just stalled out here in the 7th position ever since he got up to around 6th or 7th. He hasn't been able to get into the top 5 here, Seth. Just hanging out right outside the top 5.
We get 6th position from TJ Crampton as Agnew Phillip now high, wide, and handsome through 1 and 2. Trying to see if he can reel in Andrew Navarro for the race lead. Christopher Hill, Christopher Pfeffer right behind him, but 3 trucks, well, as soon as I was going to say 3 trucks in the top 4 were running the bottom, one was running the top, and Christopher Hill that time jumps up to the top line behind the 94 through 3 and 4. One thing that's going to really help Braxton DeWeese here tonight, not only is he doing a great job mounting the comeback after the early issues, but Kyle Myers, who was his closest competitor in the point standings, back in the garage area, and the driver that he was behind coming into this race, 9th in the point standings, John Theodore, is not in the field here tonight. So a couple of things working out to his benefit to help him be able to, as we mentioned, put that gap between himself and that cut line.
Yeah, that is definitely very helpful to Braxton's playoff situation, but still, nonetheless, he still needs to go out there and try to get the best finish he can, because you don't know what the rest of the season holds for you. You could get wrecked out in 2 or 3 straight races. Who knows what could happen in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series?
It's very true. There's actually 2 drivers inside the top 10 in points coming into this race that are not in the field. The aforementioned John Theodore and also Kevin Roy, 7th in the point standings, not in the field here this evening, as a little bit of shade over there in 3 and 4 now. Actually, I think the entire track's got some cloud cover. Sun going behind the clouds for a little while here, and that has brought Agnew Phillip right to the back bumper of Andrew Navarro for the top position. And look at Hill, might make it a 3-man fight with a great run out of turn 2.
Yeah, Phillip's really getting through turns 3 and 4 very strong. Here comes Hill to the inside, but that last time by, Phillip was all over Navarro's bumper coming through the corner. Very close racing between those two. And now Hill and the number 94 of Agnell Phillip are battling it out for second as Navarro's trying to check out. They're going to get past the lap car of Hassler here on the inside.
Hassler gonna yield the inside line to the race leaders. Pretty certain that both the 94 and the 99 would have liked to have run that outside line through 1 and 2, but they had to follow in suit with the race leader. Pfeffer going to clear them as well. I mean, this is incredible, just the fact that we are about almost 20 laps into this run, and you look at our top 4, there's about maybe 6 truck lengths separating all 4 of them.
Yeah, some very hard racing. And this really says a lot about the setups here, Seth, because as we've mentioned here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, it's an open setup league. A lot of these drivers try to make these setups for Road to Pro. So the fact that these drivers are running so close, even with a couple laps on this run, it's very impressive.
Side-by-side battles going on here inside the top 10. Boyd Hogan, we saw him working over TJ Crampton for 6th place. Now the two of them find themselves door to door to the start-finish line. Boyd Hogan on the bottom, TJ Crampton on the top. If they keep this battle up, caution! Rick Webb.
Yeah, Rick Webb has spun it out on the front straightaway. The driver of the number 3 machine. Not sure what had happened to that black and blue machine. Maybe some help from Villalobos.
Great to see Rick back in the field here tonight. Been absent for the last couple of weeks, but unfortunately involved in bringing out the 4th caution of the night, 3rd caution for cause. We'll go back and see what happened to him. Looked like after he took that first hit, the toe or the steering got knocked out of it as he was having some difficulty driving away.
Yeah, I saw that, Seth. And that's kind of what happens when you're on the banking right there and your car is just stopped trying to get it back going and just self-spun it back into the outside wall and got even more damage than he had already had.
It's basically a solo car spin or solo truck spin that brings out this yellow, but there might have been a little bit of contact between himself and the 45 of Julio Villalobos Jr. Rick Webb all sorts of sideways out of turn 4, almost hooked the 45 truck in the right rear corner panel, so Julio is very lucky with that one.
A very close call for Julio Villalobos. Very, very close call for him. It's been a very difficult season for the number 45 machine. He's been around already a lot of the action here tonight. So great job able to get through that incident coming off the corner involving Rick Webb as the leaders are coming down pit road to change some tires.
This is going to be taking place with around 80 laps to go. And if indeed drivers elect to put some more fresh Goodyears on there, by my projections, these guys only have one more set left. They used a set at the end of the first stage. They're using a set now. So if, this is a big if, we go green from here to the checkers, something tells me they might look to kind of split this in half. So what, maybe kind of split it at 40 and 40, or depending on how many laps we have, maybe like 35, 35, we get about 70 to go or something like that. I think that's maybe the strategy these guys would go with, but I've been trying to look and see about tire fall off, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of tire fall off here today. So does that mean that we see most of the drivers come down pit road all together at the same time, or does somebody either short pit or try to stretch it a little bit further?
I would expect to see a couple of drivers short pit and a couple of drivers to just stay out a little bit longer, depending on what they want to do and what they think might possibly happen. Because we can definitely see some drivers just staying out as long as they can. Maybe try to trap a couple of drivers a lap down, especially those drivers that might be further back in the field here, Seth. And also, I've just noticed when you stay out on these longer runs, when you stay out a little bit longer, like for example, like if we have our race leader Navarro come down pit road and Hill sees Navarro come down pit road, he should maybe stay out an extra 2 laps. He's going to lose a little bit of time to Navarro on the racetrack, but in that long run, he will catch up to that number 42 machine and most likely pass him on the longer run.
Corey Hassler is the lucky dog under this caution, so he is back to -6. We documented Nathan Jurgensen on pit lane during that last run. He has not yet returned onto the racing surface since that time. Andrew Navarro taking the scenic route here, enjoying all of that runoff apron on the back straightaway. And the 45 of Julio Villalobos Jr., who is very nearly involved in that last wreck, stayed out an extra lap, came down pit lane, and I'm wondering what the strategy would be there, maybe to have a little bit of extra fuel in the truck, because he's a part-time driver, so he does not get regular season points in the series. So it wouldn't have been to stay out and get a bonus point for a lap led. So interesting strategy call there on the 45. We'll see later on this race if it's something that might have him in the conversation for this checkered flag.
The lights are now out here on the iRacing pace truck. A couple of drivers gonna get the wave around here. Navarro looks like he's decided on the inside lane here. Christopher Hill will be on his outside. You have Agno Phillip and Tanner Love right behind him in row number 2. You have Christopher Pfeffer and Boyd Hogan up to the 6th position. In 5th and 6th, you have Crampton, Braxton DeWeese, Troy Hutchison, and Daniel Simmons rounding out your top 10 on this upcoming restart here on caution number 4.
Those two wave around trucks were Richard Clement and Channing Ballou. So 20 drivers will be on the lead lap when we go back green out of the 21 that are currently out on the racing surface. Andrew Navarro, again, as mentioned, has been really good on these restarts, and as the control truck, he can go whenever that iRacing pace truck hits pit lane up until that restart zone area. So we'll see if he can catch the rest of the drivers behind him flat-footed once more as we are nearing the halfway point of this race here tonight at Kansas.
And the pace truck pulls down pit road and waiting for Navarro to go, and there he goes, the driver of the number 42. A good restart from him. Hill and Phillip battling it out for the second position going into turns 1 and 2 as Navarro is going to try to separate, going way underneath the line to gain some more time on these drivers behind him.
Phillip going to clear for second. Now it's going to be Pfeffer. Oh, he's going to actually duck down 3 wide potentially for the second spot. I thought he and Hill were going to battle for third, but no. 3 abreast into turn 3. Agno Phillip edging ahead off of turn number 4. Now it's going to be he and Pfeffer to battle for the runner-up spot.
Looks like Phillip able to jump down in front of Pfeffer in the number 66 machine. Hill right in behind Pfeffer. Love in that 5th spot. They've kind of single filed out for now here at the very front of the field. Phillip has a huge run on the number 42 coming down the back straightaway. Does he make something of it in 3 and 4? He's going to get to the high side. A great move from Phillip. He's going to be able to squeeze the 42 down off the corner and maybe make a pass for the race lead. This is a phenomenal move from the 94.
Tremendous slingshot move. Got his left front to the right rear of Andrew Navarro. Dragged him back, and with the drafting help of the 66 up top, might be able to clear Navarro by the time they get to the back straightaway. Not just yet. Navarro, strong on that inside, draws even.
This is some good racing here. Navarro not giving up the race lead. Number 42 for Drill Spill on that inside, fighting with Phillip awfully hard. Some good battling going on right here in a close race to the line. Looking Navarro barely edged him to the line that time. And here comes Hill. Hill might try to make it 3 wide off turns 1 and 2 if he has a good run. He was peaking right there.
Hill went about as low on that apron front straight as you possibly can without doing some landscaping with the infield grass. Didn't get him to the back bumper of the 42 though, as Hill now dropped back to around 4th. And Agno Phillip will not go away, continues to pin Andrew Navarro down. These guys continue door to door. It's been this way for the last 2 laps.
Look like Phillip might have edged the 42 that time across the line. Pfeffer all over Phillip's bumper going into the corner, almost giving him a bump draft going into the corner. And then he looks for that clean air to the very top side. Pfeffer's getting off these corners so strong. Navarro able to clear Phillip for now, but the battle continues for third. Does Phillip make another move on him here?
Andrew Navarro's got himself a strong truck. If he was able to hold off Agno Phillip utilizing that inside line, not easy to be able to have the advantage back to the throttle from the center of the corner off. But so far, Andrew Navarro has been able to keep Phillip at bay. Phillip's not going away quietly, though. Back up to the top side again here in 1 and 2.
Agno Phillip, the driver of the number 94 for A51 Pro, is just putting in a lot of work right now. He's racing awfully hard on this high side to Navarro, and he's really going to squeeze him this time. Squeezes him all the way down. Not much room for the 42 off the corner. Phillips should have a huge run off of the corner, and here comes the 66 of Pfeffer, possibly almost making it 3 wide for a second there.
Effort continues to run right up against that wall. He's going to do it again here, trying to get that clean air to the nose. He's been up against that outside wall for most of the day, trying to get that momentum down the straight. Does he try and carry it to the inside here into 3? Does he stay in line on the top side? He will stay to the top, at least for the moment. Phillip goes way up wide this time through 3 and 4, looking for a better run off the corner.
Yeah, Phillips going to get a huge run off the corner here. Navarro was almost able to shut the door, but not quite able to. Phillip with a huge run. They're 3 wide. Heading into turns 1 and 2 with Pfeffer on the inside. This is going to be a good race off the corner.
We're a little tight there through the center of 1 and 2. Going to have to give way. Phillip going to clear for second. Now Hill's going to look for third. Phillip with a big run there, going to look to the top side of Andrew Navarro, but had to brake just a little bit there because the 42 was in his lane on entry.
Phillip was all over the back bumper of Navarro heading into that corner, possibly even a little frustrated trying to complete this pass on Navarro, but has just been unable to complete the pass. And now he's once again trying to get next to the 42 of Navarro. You have to wonder if these two drivers, like the 42 and the 94, maybe used up their tires a decent amount, especially the number 94 of Phillip, who's been pushing it very hard on that high side here early.
This action at the front has been too good to miss, but there's been some good action going on in the latter half of the top 10 as well. Daniel Simmons, TJ Crampton, they've been in a spirited battle for what was 8th, now 9th. The reason they're back in 9th and 10th is because the guy who had to come down pit road for a penalty, a lane chase penalty, Will Cooley, that caution saved him. He's up in the 8th spot and continuing to march forward.
Yeah, looking in that 6th, 7th, and 8th spot, we got the comeback kids of Boyd Hogan, Braxton DeWeese, and Will Cooley have all had to come from the back of the pack for various reasons, and they're back up here into the top 10. The 96 and the number 8 of Hogan and DeWeese have kind of stalled out right outside that top 5, but with Will Cooley right on their bumper, do they maybe use Cooley to their advantage in this sort of situation?
Now Hill going to get a challenge on the top side by Agnew Phillip. That's going to be for second place behind Andrew Navarro. Just a little observation that I made. Remember back under the caution prior to the one we had, we ended up having Channing Beluga with a 2-tire strategy. It did not help him at all, and nobody elected to go with 2 tires under this last yellow flag. So I think we can put that strategy to bed.
Yeah, the 2-tire strategy is pretty much a dead strategy in this sort of situation, especially now that all these drivers only have the one set. They only have the one set of tires remaining, Seth. You were talking about that earlier. So that strategy is 100% dead at this point, and we'll have to see what these drivers are able to do on these current tires that they have.
Not sure what's happened to TJ Crampton. We see him battling now for 9th place still with Daniel Simmons, but he was up as high as 5th place in the early going of this one, has fallen off just a little bit, so don't know if maybe made an adjustment that wasn't to his liking, might be trying to preserve his tires. We'll wait and see what exactly is going on with that 61, our winner from Daytona, as back up here to the front. It's quite a distance from the race leader back to the second place battle, but this has been fun to watch, the 99 and the 94.
The number 42 of Navarro has been able to put around a half second between himself and the number 94 of Phillip and the number 99 of Hill as they continue to battle for that second spot. And these two have a decent gap back to the 4th place battle as well, because Pfeffer and Love have been going back and forth for that position as well. And Navarro is just enjoying this, just enjoying that clean air and being able to pull away.
So just looking right now in terms of lap times and the fall off on these tires, about 15 laps right now these guys have been on since we went back green, and I'm seeing roughly about a second of fall off from when they took that green flag. So that's when the crew chiefs start calculating, if we come to pit road on this lap, how much time might we possibly gain on some fresh Goodyears. The mind games are starting to play out here. I don't expect we're going to see drivers on pit road until maybe the next 25 to 28 laps, but I guarantee you the strategy is already beginning.
Yeah, some of these drivers are already getting ideas into their head, and they're trying to set themselves up for those eventual pit stops if we were to stay under the green flag. if we do get a caution here in the late goings, we might get a caution flag to get that final pit stop, which will really calm things down a lot, Seth. It will take away pretty much all the strategy and any potential speeding penalties. We saw it underneath the caution flag. A lot of drivers smoking up their tires. Imagine the green flag pit stops.
You mentioned, Kyle, about how much you love running this racetrack. You go back the last couple of weeks, the pit roads these guys have had to get onto, the very difficult tight entry at Dover, the transition from the banking to the flat apron at Darlington. Is this going to be a racetrack where these drivers are going to have at least a little bit easier of a time getting onto pit lane if indeed they have to make stops under green?
Definitely an easier pit lane than the ones we've seen in the last few weeks, like Darlington and Dover. Darlington and Dover, two very difficult pit roads. Richmond as well, very, very difficult pit road. So definitely a lot easier of a pit road. But you have to keep in mind it's a very long exit and it's very flat down there in 1 and 2. So you really have to take your time exiting pit road and make sure you don't spin out on the apron. I've seen it happen before.
Boyd Hogan now cracking the top 5, side by side with Will Cooley. Starting to notice a few drivers falling back. We documented TJ Crampton. Christopher Pfeffer is now free falling back to the 7th position. So may have used up his stuff a little too early here and now trying to preserve what he can before eventually coming to pit lane for that final set of Goodyear tires. And, just thinking about this, let's say that we end up getting to that round of green flag pit stops and a caution comes out between then and the checkered flag. These guys have no more tires to be able to fall back on, and we've already seen on starts where drivers have fresh tires, them spinning the tires. I mean, those are going to be some very interesting late race restarts if we do get to a scenario like that.
Oh yeah, Seth, those restarts will definitely be intense, especially if it's in the last 10 or 15 laps. That can get very insane. Very old tires on late race restarts yet almost always produces some tire spin, some sort of contact on the restart. We saw contact on the initial start of this race. Imagine what happens with 10 to go. Everybody on old tires. There's a possibility for a huge collision just on the restart.
What we talk about in this point system, consistency is key to get yourself up into the top 10 and put yourself in eventual playoff position. 2 drivers that have managed to be able to do that have 5 top 5s and 7 top 10s. That's the most of any driver statistically this season. Boyd Hogan and TJ Crampton. Right now, Boyd is up in the 5th position. Crampton has fallen back to 10th. The only other driver that joined them statistically wise for top 10s was John Theodore, who's not in the field here tonight. So both of those drivers have done a tremendous job this year of making sure they've gotten the consistent finishes if they're not parking their trucks in victory lane. It looked like right now, though, Boyd Hogan may take the top of the leaderboard in top 5s as things stands right now, unless Crampton's able to make a really good adjustment in the closing stages.
Yeah, Hogan was able to finally get back into the top 5 a few laps ago with Pfeffer falling back a couple of spots. He was under pressure from Will Cooley a few laps ago. Will Cooley driving through the field and everything. Maybe it really hurt those tires because he's fallen back from Hogan the last few laps as Hogan's now putting the pressure on his teammate Tanner Love for the 4th position.
Yeah, that last time by, actually the last 2 previous laps, Boyd Hogan has been the fastest truck on the racetrack, even faster than race leader Andrew Navarro. Now, he was running behind Tanner Love for a good portion of that. How much does draft come into play for these drivers on these straightaways?
I think draft definitely takes some sort of an aspect, not too much at a track like Kansas, but it still takes its aspect, and you're able to close in on that driver just that much easier. It really helps with your battles and just a little bit on speed, not as much as you'd think, but it does help.
Great 3-way battle for the final spot inside of the top 10. James Eden, TJ Crampton, they've been duking it out the last 5-10 laps, but now add to the party that bright orange number 18 Ford F-Series of Troy Hutchinson right now in that 12th position.
Great move from Hogan. He was able to leapfrog past his teammate in 3 and 4 that last time by, sent it down low and was able to cut up in front of him. We were talking a little bit ago about pit stops and when you should pit, Seth, and I was saying how you should probably stay out a little later than the driver in front of you. But a driver like Boyd Hogan, who has shown he has a lot of speed and he's shown that he might have the quickest car on the long run here tonight, why not take the risk and pit a little bit earlier than these other drivers and try to leapfrog them?
Hogan and Tanner Love right now out a truck length separation for that fourth position. It's another 3 truck lengths back to Will Cooley. Might be in a fight momentarily for 6th place with the 66 of Christopher Pfeffer.
Yeah, Pfeffer fell back and maybe try to cool down his tires for a few laps there because he's been able to gain back some of that time in the 66 machine. The 66 and the 00 have been able to pull away from Braxton Deweese fairly easily. Deweese is almost second behind these drivers now when Deweese was with them just a few laps ago.
Remember last week, Braxton Deweese was en route to a really good run, but did not get the tank full of fuel. I guarantee you that's not a mistake that they're going to make this week on that 8 truck. And you talked about the gap back to him right now. I'm almost wondering if he might be one of those drivers purposely backing down his pace just a little bit to be able to make sure he can go that extra lap or 2 that you're talking about.
Yeah, last week might be in the back of Braxton's mind right there, but I think it's really just about tires, maybe saving those tires for the end portion of this run. Deweese might be saving those tires to maybe make a late run right before the pit stops to try to get back up there.
So aside from possibly being able to stay out that extra lap or 2, looking here at drivers like Christopher Hill and Agnew Phillip, they're keeping Andrew Navarro honest. They're not able to challenge him, but if he makes a mistake, they could certainly capitalize. Are there some other things that drivers could do to be able to make up some time here on the upcoming pit stops? One of the things I'm kind of thinking of is maybe how aggressive they are on pit road entry.
Yeah, pit road entry and pit road exit, we were talking about a little bit earlier, pit road entry and pit road exit. You can be very aggressive on the entrance and exit. We saw it underneath the caution flags. A lot of drivers smoking up tires, just trying to get as much speed as they can, getting into pit road, trying to get in front of those other drivers. Here underneath those green flag stops, you're going to see a lot of the same. A lot of pushing hard, trying to get into pit road as fast as you can, a lot of smoking of the tires, and also getting up to speed as quick as you can on that exit, but not too fast, because like I said earlier, it's very flat down there, and it's easy to spin on fresh Goodyears down there.
I know Phillip gonna try and challenge for that second position now as he jumps back up to the top on Christopher Hill. Less than 50 laps to go here tonight at Kansas Speedway. Only 4 cautions have flown here tonight. 3 of them for cause. The other one was the stage caution at the completion of lap 30. 22 of the 24 drivers that started this race are currently still scored. 21 of them on the racetrack, and currently 20 of them on the lead lap. So very impressive that we've got that many trucks still on the lead lap, still competitive at this point. I say that, and now it's only 19 with Richard Clement going a lap down. Corey Hassler making an unscheduled pit stop in the 25 truck.
Yeah, Richard Clement getting that wave around that last time by, so he's on very old tires right now in that number 4 machine, falling back pretty quickly. He also does have a good amount of damage on the number 4 machine as the battling continues throughout the field. Looking back at Will Cooley, he's having a good battle here with Tanner Love, it looks like, to get up into the top 5. Tanner Love has really fallen off hard the last couple of laps. Looks like his tires have kind of hit a brick wall there in the 28 machine.
Tanner was having a pretty good battle with teammate Boyd Hogan for what was then the 4th position, I believe. And to your point, he is now definitely fallen off, losing spots not only to Hogan, but now to Cooley, now to Pfeffer, back to the 7th position for the driver of the 28. And, you know, I mentioned some of these guys. We now see Tanner Love, Pfeffer falling back, TJ Crampton falling back. I mean, because of the fact that these drivers appear to be losing ground the longer the run goes on. Are these some of the guys that we're circling on the list of those that might be some of the first to begin the green flag pit stops?
Almost definitely set the driver like Christopher Pfeffer or Tanner Love. I can definitely see coming down pit road first here, seeing that their tires are falling off a little bit more than some of these other drivers, trying to get that advantage and maybe leapfrog these other guys, get that track position.
We saw Agno Phillip was trying to get around Christopher Hill on the top side. He has completed that pass, so move him into the runner-up spot, currently about 0.6 of a second behind race leader Andrew Navarro. And we mentioned that Corey Hassler came down pit road for an unscheduled pit stop. Apparently it was scheduled, but it was not for a pit stop. He has made the left-hand turn to the garage area. Looks like he will finish at least in the 21st position here tonight. As 42 laps to go for the 42 truck, Andrew Navarro going to work on now putting another truck a lap down. That's the 2 of Matt Dyer. So Matt would now be in the free pass position, running in 19th place.
Navarro's just had a very strong run in that 42 machine. He's had a couple of challenges throughout the day, but has ran very strong all race long. I've been very impressed by that 42 machine, but a driver that I might be even more impressed by is Boyd Hogan. He's consistently putting down the quickest laps on the racetrack, and he continues to drive down this front 3 after being at the back early after the incident on lap number 1.
He has now reeled in Christopher Hill and Agno Phillip, so about to be a 3-way battle for second place. Got to deal with the lap truck of Matt Dyer, who's up and into that safer barrier entering into turn 3. Now nose to tail, 94, 99, 96, and I don't know, depending on when these drivers like to come to pit lane, Boyd Hogan might already be going for the race lead on Andrew Navarro, because he can certainly see the race leader.
Getting closer and closer every single lap. That last time by, Navarro was a little bit slower than Hogan. Hogan and Navarro were both quicker than Phillip and Hill by a couple of hundredths, but that whole top 6 right now is running almost the exact same lap. Top 7 actually are all within around a 0.5 of each other, so very close lap times right now for that top 7.
Well, these drivers just completed their 40th lap on this run. And we were at 40, now 39 laps to go. So if they were looking to split this final run in half, now would be the time that you'd see some hands waving out the driver's side window net saying, I'm coming to pit lane. And Navarro, well, nope, he faked me out. He was running very low there through 3 and 4. I thought maybe he was electing to come to pit lane. So now it's the question of, do you split in half or do you run it until it's out of fuel? Christopher Hill's going to go with the split it down the middle strategy, 99 on pit road.
I was about to say, I'm expecting to see a couple of drivers at least come in the next 2 or 3 laps. Christopher Hill will be the first taker for the driver, the number 99 for Legacy Esports, coming down pit road to get those fresh Goodyears for potentially the final pit stop of the race for him. Who do we see come down pit road this time? Does everybody stay out once again?
Navarro stays out, Phillip stays out, Hogan stays out. See anybody amongst the top 10 slow and come pit road. 11th place, TJ Crampton, going to make the dive this time.
Crampton coming down pit lane out of turns 3 and 4. A driver I would also expect to maybe come down pit road might be Broxton DeWeese here in a few laps. These last couple laps, DeWeese has kind of fallen off a little bit in that 8 machine. His tires have fallen off. Eden's gotten past him. Simmons got past him, it looked like, as well. So I would expect to see him come down pit road momentarily, along with maybe Pfeffer and Love, who have fallen back a little bit from the top 3.
James Edens is coming down this time. That's Troy Hutchinson right behind him as well. So a couple of drivers just inside and just outside of the top 10 coming down for potentially their final pit stop of the day. Definitely their final pit stop for tires.
Final stop for tires and most likely gas as well for these drivers. And here comes race leader Andrew Navarro down pit road, which will hand the lead off to Agno Phillip. Number 42, Navarro smokes out the tires a little bit coming into pit road. I think he was able to get underneath the 45 miles an hour speed mark. Here he comes to his pit box, driver the number 42.
Luis follows him down pit lane as well in the 8 truck. So race lead handed over to the 94 of Agno Phillip. Now we'll see what he's going to do, and I almost wonder if maybe Agno Phillip might be one of those drivers that will run it as long as he possibly can, because if we go back to, I believe it was Dover, he was a driver that stayed out as long as he possibly could. It almost worked out for him with the fresh tires to be able to get the race win, but remember too, he is a part-time driver. He is not running for points. He is trophy hunting in this series, so he's definitely a driver that would go outside the box in strategy. And hey, if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, then you got nothing to be ashamed of, trying to see if you can play out some orthodox strategy.
Yeah, you said it right there, Seth. A driver like Philip is trophy hunting in any race that I've seen him in this season. He's been a top 5 contender up there trophy hunting, trying to get the win. He's not competing for a championship. He's just trying various strategies in that number 94 machine, maybe to practice for tomorrow, or maybe just for bragging rights. The driver, that number 94 machine, is more takers down pit road this time. Looks like Tanner Love among them and Will Cooley.
Lap prior, Boyd Hogan and Christopher Pfeffer were on pit lane. So right now, by my count, well, now with Agnell Phillip driving onto pit road, 7 drivers left to make their final pit stops of the day. Daniel Simmons in the 46 coming down this time. Jamie Knopf in the 48 coming down. Looks like Chuck Waldrop's going to stay out and get himself a lap led here.
I'm looking at the scoring right now, Seth, and Christopher Hill. He came in around not 4 laps, 3 laps before Andrew Navarro, and he's currently around 5 seconds in front of Andrew Navarro, the driver of that number 99 machine. Once we get through this pit window, he will be the race leader, the driver of the 99, Christopher Hill.
May have been able to leapfrog Andrew Navarro potentially for this win. Only time will tell. Waldrop stays out another lap. We are currently awaiting 3 drivers on the lead lap to make their final pit stops of the day. Waldrop, Rick Webb, and Julio Villalobos Jr.
Villalobos just spun out trying to come. He just spun out gone to pit road. Sorry to interrupt you, Seth. Julio Villalobos tried to get on pit road and spun it into the grass. He's currently still in the infield, trying to get back onto the racetrack. It looks like the number 45 machine. We'll have to see if this possibly could bring out a caution.
Slowly, gingerly trying to get it from the infield grass to the apron on the front straightaway. He does so. Oh, he's going to slide back up the track. Look out. Almost hit Jamie off.
No caution.
No caution yet. Wow. Jamie Knopf, wish we had a heart rate monitor inside of his race car, as he might have just seen this race flash before his eyes, but 45 now continues on. The thing I'm wondering is just how close was he to running out of fuel? Is he going to make it back around?
A very close call for Jamie Knopf. You might need to change his fire suit after that one. A very close call for the 48 machine, who's already been through a decent amount in this race, and a very close call for some of those drivers that had yet to make pit stops either. That was almost a caution flag, and Villalobos now able to come down pit road safely in the number 45 machine, able to get underneath the speed. Just to update you on our race leader, Christopher Hill leading the field right now by only 3 seconds now over Andrew Navarro, who's already been able to cut that lead by 2 seconds. Navarro running around 4/10 of a lap quicker than Andrew Navarro, but Boyd Hogan around 2.5 seconds back of Navarro, running slightly quicker lap times than him. This could be a very interesting finish to the race between those 3 drivers.
And while it may not seem like it, 28 laps left. That is still a long ways to go in this race. A lot can still happen between now and the checkered flag, with Villalobos making it onto pit lane. That completes our final cycle of green flag pit stops here today. Nobody else going to need to come to pit road for fuel. They've got the tires that they've got for the remainder of this race. And Christopher Hill, it's going to be a long 27 lap for him as the gap continues to shrink consistently. Lap after lap, he loses anywhere from 4/10 to half a second to second, third, and fourth behind him.
If I'm Christopher Hill, I'm just kind of hoping that this race stays green, because if a caution flag comes out right now, he's the driver probably on the oldest tires out of the field. It's going to lump the whole field back together. And at that point, instead of losing possibly 1 or 2 spots, he might lose 5 or 6 or even 7 spots in that number 99 machine on those old tires.
That's a great point, because I was thinking to myself, going outside the box on the strategy for Christopher Hill, might be thinking, well, I may not have the truck that can win this race, but I can maybe gain a position or 2 on this strategy from where I was running before I came to pit lane. But Hill was running, I think, 3rd or 4th, and to your point, he could be outside the top 5 when this thing is completed. So it certainly would not be a net gain for him if this strategy does not work out.
Yeah, you definitely look at that as a failure, but at the same time, a driver like Christopher Hill definitely looking for victory. So I don't think he would regret that decision at all. But nonetheless, that would hurt him in the point situation if he were to lose those positions.
Look at this battle for fourth. Three wide from turn four all the way to turn one. Why not keep it off of turn two? Phillip, Cooley, and Pfeffer putting on a show right here inside the top five. We're still three wide into three.
I mean, they were coming across the start finish line that last time. It looked like the final scene of Cars when they're coming across the line and Lightning McQueen sticks his tongue out. This is some close racing between these drivers right now for the fourth spot. Some of these drivers on fresher tires like Phillip and Cooley, Pfeffer on a little older tires.
Like, Phillip is going to get that fourth position. Cooley now side by side with Pfeffer for fifth. Pfeffer topside and a little bit of draft down the back straightaway, edges ahead for that final top five position. Can't quite, well, he does clear him off of turn four, so give the fifth spot to the 66. Behind them, you got a battle that just happened. Eighth place changed hands. TJ Crampton getting around the top side of the 9 of Channing Ballou, who's done a nice job of mounting a comeback in his own right. Channing was running back around the 18th, 19th position about 50 laps ago, and now finds himself, for the moment, in line for a top 10 finish.
Now with Phillip up here in the fourth position, Seth, this has made it a very interesting race up here in the front. Four drivers up at the front that pit at four separate times. Christopher Hill pit around 16 laps ago. Navarro came in 13 laps ago. Hogan came in 12 laps ago. Phillip came in the most recently 10 laps ago. We'll have to see how this works out, but Phillip is closing quickly on Boyd Hogan, around 2/10 quicker than Boyd Hogan and 4/10 quicker than our race leader, Christopher Hill.
Yeah, I mentioned about when Agno Phillip went outside the box, stretched as far as he could, and made a shorter pit stop. That was actually back at Bristol, came up just short of catching Christopher Pfeffer for that win. You gotta wonder if might come back to bite him here again today. Does he have enough time? He's certainly got the speed, he's got enough truck to be able to do it, but does he have enough laps to be able to close up what right now is just a tick under 3.5 seconds up to the race leader?
I think it's really dependent on Hill and Navarro here, Seth, because Navarro is closing up to Hill very quickly. He's around a half second back right now of Hill, and he's consistently running around almost 2/10 quicker every single lap than Christopher Hill. And we know that Christopher Hill is going to battle pretty hard for this spot, especially with Boyd Hogan, his teammate, not too far behind these two. How quickly is Navarro able to get past Hill? How many laps does it take him to get past Hill here?
Been a great couple of weeks for Christopher Hill. 2 weeks ago, runner-up finish at Dover. Last week, the checkered flag at Darlington. He's about to have his hands full with the fresher tires behind him in the form of Andrew Navarro. Navarro has led the most laps here today. And I mentioned how he got the stage win earlier on here tonight. He ended up getting the stage win and the race win back at Martinsville, where he also led the most laps. So this is certainly not Martinsville, but a lot of the scenarios from that racetrack for Andrew Navarro playing themselves out right now. He's just moments away from possibly swinging around the 99 and taking the race lead back potentially for the final time today.
Hill jumping to the inside lane. It looks like he might be just giving up the high side to Navarro, knowing Navarro is quicker. And Navarro's going to be able to make this pass very easily right here going into turns 3 and 4, and most likely going to clear him out of turn 4 right here. So this is very helpful to Navarro.
Don't know if you saw it there. You might even see them here off of turn 4. Patrick Stein is that next truck back there, but then the truck behind him, that is Agnell Phillip in the 94, the third place truck. What did I say it was? 3.4 seconds a few moments ago. It's now down to 2.2 seconds. Agnell Phillip, Boyd Hogan, they're coming in a hurry, and we've still got 16.5 left here at Kansas.
I said it earlier, Seth, the driver that usually pits last tends to have the biggest advantage at the end of these runs and tends to catch up to the drivers that were in front of them and get past them. But the question is, does Phillip have enough time to get up to Hill and Navarro and get past them both? Hogan not too far behind him as well, but I expect Phillip to pull away a little bit here, as Phillip has around 3 laps fresher tires than Boyd Hogan.
Phillip runs part-time here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, so he does not run for points. Regardless, though, he is still looking for his first trip to victory lane, and right now the strategy looks to be in his favor. This time by less than 2 seconds between himself and the race leader, Andrew Navarro. He was about a tenth quicker, tenth and a half quicker than Andrew Navarro. Navarro's got the clean air right now. He's also got some cloud cover that's kind of circulate around the racetrack again, maybe to cool the track down just a little bit, help Navarro with his grip and his speed through these turns. We'll see if the sun elects to come back out here in the closing stages. This time by 14 to go at Kansas. Hill hanging on to second, but Agno Phillip continues to bear down the top two.
Yeah, Phillip continues to catch up to this front two, but that last time by, he didn't even catch up a full 10th. He needs to catch up more than that if he wants to end up in victory lane, because he still needs to get past Hill before he can even get to Navarro. And Hill's done a really good job, Seth, here. Ever since Navarro's gone past him, he's kind of just stuck with him. He's running very similar lap times as the race leader.
Let's schedule pit stop for the 52 of James Edens. Finished in the top 10 back in stage 1. Has been up inside the top 12 pretty much most of the race. And it looks like this may be for some damage repair potentially on his Chevrolet Silverado. Right now he's multiple laps down in the 20th position. So tough break there for another part-time driver who is looking like he more than likely would have finished this race out inside the top 10 prior to his issues.
Now I'm looking back at Phillip, and I'm curious if maybe Phillip had used up these tires a little bit too much trying to get back up to the front two, because he's kind of stalled out in this third spot. And we saw on that last run how quick Boyd Hogan is on the long runs. Boyd Hogan has gotten back to the bumper of Phillip, and he's going to try to get past him for the third position here.
I was going to ask you, does the 96 on his back bumper, does that hinder his speed at all?
I wouldn't say him being on his back bumper hinders his speed, but when Hogan's making those moves to the inside, it is slowing him down a little bit, especially on the straightaways. So he has to keep that in mind. These drivers are not really making up very much time to the race leader right now. We're going to check the times at the line, but that last time by, both Phillip and Hogan were around a 10th quicker than Andrew Navarro. That's not enough to catch up to them in the amount of time they have remaining. Just over 10 laps remaining here in the Reaper Speedlab 200.
Yeah, they're going to need to cut that down a lot more with the limited number of laps that remain. Andrew Navarro trying to manage the gap. He doesn't have to lose a lot. He can lose a little and still be the first one back to that checkered flag. That time by, it was only 4 100ths gained by Agno Phillip. So now the question is, did Agno Phillip use up too much of his stuff in trying to close up that gap?
And that's what I'm concerned about here, Seth. Phillip was driving awfully hard. Now Hogan's going to try to take away the spot from Phillip here. Hogan's a little quicker than Phillip is right now. We saw in that last run how fast Boyd Hogan is on the long run. And now they've brought Will Cooley into this battle. Will Cooley's all of a sudden right there. Will Cooley putting down blistering lap times, I might add. That last time by was 2/10 quicker than Navarro. Where did the 0-0 of Cooley come from?
Three-man fight for the final spot inside the podium. Whoa! 94 gets that outside safer barrier. Cooley had to take evasive action to the inside. That stalled him out a little bit. And now Boyd Hogan, at least for the moment, firmly in control of that third spot. I'm also noticing the gap is slowly closing up bit by bit from Andrew Navarro back to Christopher Hill. It was about 7-8 car lengths. It's now down to 3 truck lengths down the back straightaway. Was Christopher Hill able to save something here?
I mentioned it a few laps ago, Seth, and that might have been the reason why he jumped to the inside when Navarro came up on him. He was just trying to save and preserve those tires possibly for the end of this race. When Navarro got past him, he just kind of stuck himself right to his bumper. The driver, that number 99, he stayed within a half second ever since the 42 got past him. Does he have something left on the tires to possibly make a late race move here on the number 42 for Drill Spill?
this could be the last-ditch effort attempt for Christopher Hill as Will Cooley makes the pass around the top side of Boyd Hogan for that third spot. Still dead even between those two off of turn 4. Another driver with a late pit stop, Matt Dyer in the 2, coming down to the attention of his team with less than 10 to go. Cooley does clear into turn 1 for P3.
And I'm looking now, it looks like Braxton DeWeese is once again coming down pit road with 5 laps remaining. I'm not sure what happened here. Did he not fill up the tank once again in the number 8? But he is coming down pit road once again from a potential top 10 finishing position. You hate to see it for DeWeese.
He was battling at the time for 10th place with Channing Ballou before eventually ducking back down pit road. 13 trucks right now scheduled to finish on the lead lap. I think one reason why Christopher Hill might be catching up to Andrew Navarro, that 42 looks a little unsteady through the center of the corner, back end stepping out just the least little bit. Navarro's been very committed to that white line, it seems, and now he's changing it up. Now he jumps to the top, and Christopher Hill gonna hook the bottom.
With these two doing that, Cooley is flying. Cooley is catching up to these drivers quick, but I do not think he's going to have enough laps in that 00 machine. He's consistently running at least a tenth, if not 2/10, if not 3/10 quicker than these front two every lap. But he's a little over 2 seconds back right now with just 4 laps remaining. I just don't think he'll have enough time.
Saw Boyd Hogan lose third place to Will Cooley. He's now lost another spot. Teammate Christopher Pepper getting around, not so fast. Boyd Hogan gonna dive back to the inside on the 66.
3 laps remaining for Andrew Navarro. Can he finish up this race? Christopher Hill is still right there with him. That last time by, Navarro was around almost a tenth quicker than Hill.
Boyd Hogan pulled the slide job on Pfeffer that time out of turn 4. Pfeffer crosses him over. He'll do a slide job of his own out of turn 2. Now Boyd Hogan, he goes back to the inside. So looks like we're exchanging some slide jobs here for P4.
Very hard racing right there for the 4th position between teammates. Very aggressive but clean racing between those two for the 4th spot as Navarro has passed the line for 2 laps remaining. That last time by, Hill ran a full 10th quicker than Navarro. Does he have something left for him here? He's only 2/10 back as the battle continues for 4th.
See Andrew Navarro trying to figure out which lane Christopher Hill is running, trying to get the dirty air to the nose. Let's see what happens here in 3 and 4. He's to the bottom, Hill's to the bottom. This time by, Andrew Navarro about to see the white flag, looking to join Christopher Hill and Boyd Hogan as multi-time winners on the season.
Final lap for Andrew Navarro. He's ran pretty much a perfect race all race long in that drill spill number 42. It's been a phenomenal race for Navarro. He only has a half a lap to go until the checkered flag. He just needs one more clean set of corners.
Andrew Navarro, you're right, has run a perfect race. The only time he really lost the race lead was during the cycle of green flag pit stops, but he charged right back up and took the race lead back. He's gonna come around and go coast to coast here today, winning this evening at Kansas Speedway.
Great job from Andrew Navarro, able to get that win, and very impressive from Christopher Hill. Christopher Hill was on the oldest tires, but somehow was almost able to snag that victory away, was able to stick with Navarro the whole time, kept him on his toes. But like I said, Andrew Navarro ran a perfect race all day long, didn't make any mistakes, never looked back, went from the pole to the win, most led laps. Phenomenal job from that 42 team today all day long.
Andrew came into this race inside the top 10 the point standings, 6th to be exact. Already had the win at Martinsville, but this win's just going to continue to ensure that he will have a spot in this season's playoffs. And as mentioned, he now becomes the 3rd multi-time winner on the season as he's going to turn that 42 truck back around, head for start-finish line, and begin some victory celebrations here in the Midwest.
Yeah, we're going to see this 42 possibly take a victory lap, it looks like here. Alan Kwiecki style going backwards around the racetrack in the number 42 machine. I bet this has to be a good feeling victory for him in the 42. Looks like he's actually going to stop here coming out of turn 4. I'm not sure what he's doing right here. Just taking laps around the front straightaway.
Looked like it, maybe saluting the fans there on the front stretch, and now going to bring it down pit road and go to meet with his team in victory lane. Let's take a look at the finishing results from this evening's race. Talked about that great performance there on the old tires by Christopher Hill, and another driver that had to overcome some adversity today. The pass through penalty for a lane change, Will Cooley. Nice comeback run to finish on the podium.
Yeah, Cooley with the phenomenal performance. And you got Pfeffer and Hogan and Phillip right there in fourth, fifth, and sixth. Had a phenomenal race, all three of those drivers. But late in the runnings, especially for Hogan and Phillip, just looked like their tires had fallen off a little too much after pushing so hard on that late run. Tanner Love, Daniel Simmons, TJ Crampton, a great comeback from Baloo finishes out your top 10.
Can't help but be impressed with Daniel Simmons. Seems like every single week he's up there inside of the top 10 consistently. That's why he currently is up inside the top 10, the point standings as well. As we look further on down the running order there, Troy Hutchinson, 11th. Jamie Knopf had that near miss with Villalobos Jr. on the front straightaway. He gets 12th. 13th for Waldrop, and he was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. The rest of these drivers finishing a lap down or more. Again, the issues for Braxton Deweese continue late in these races. He gets 15th. James Eden's that unscheduled stop has him finish, I believe it was back behind the wall in the 20th position. And maybe the big one here today, he was a guy that we highlighted pre-race because of his position in the standings, first guy out. And he was almost first guy out of this race. Kyle Myers back in the 23rd position. That is a team that will look to bounce back next week at Iowa.
Yeah, Kyle Myers just looked like he had maybe had some difficulties with internet problems. Unfortunately, disconnected from the server twice. Unfortunately, here tonight, and had that damage from the first incident. But we're looking forward to possibly seeing him next week competing for that final playoff spot in the upcoming weeks.
Let's see if we can talk with a few of our podium finishers here tonight. Trying to see if we do have our third place finisher, Will Cooley, available, and it appears that is not the case. So hopefully we'll get to talk to him tonight, but until we're able to make contact with him, let's leapfrog to the runner up finisher here this evening, Christopher Hill. Hey, Chris, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I gotcha.
Great performance for you here tonight, coming off the heels of that victory last week at Darlington. You almost pull off two in a row here tonight, and we were really surprised too. You had about two, three older lap tires than the 42, but you kept him honest and almost mounted a charge there late.
Yeah, I almost didn't have enough gas, so I couldn't run the top, so I was stuck to the bottom. But besides that, never got the clean air, so I was a little bit tighter than I wanted to be. But I think that was just the biggest hindrance for me is just I couldn't roll the bottom like I wanted to, and just too free up top. So just a little bit of handling woes was really what hindered me. But all in all, I mean, it was good. And I think we kept Andrew within a second of us the whole race, and we put ourselves in a position to race him at the end. But for that particular weather, I just didn't have the handling.
Yeah, we ended up going on board with a number of drivers here today, watching them up on that top side, and you could see with the wheel motion that even though you guys were gaining speed, you were really having to work for it. You talk about, having the handling issues there. We've seen a trend in the last couple of weeks where we have those cautions in the early portion of the race in that first stage, but then once we enter into stage two, we have these long green flag runs, these green flag pit stops. So, how important is it to nail the adjustments down at the end of that first stage?
It's pretty important because the strategy we all assumed was pitting twice, and just the way that caution fell in the middle of stage two, it was kind of earlier than we wanted to. So we had an extra stop to adjust, but I mean, it just wasn't the runs we were looking for. So um, yeah, I really don't know. I'm kind of I don't know. I'm kind of confused as to why the race played out the way it did.
Well, still three great runs in a row for you, second, first, and second. So, if the trend continues, maybe you'll get that third win of the season next week at Iowa. But, Chris, congratulations on the podium finish here this evening. And now we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
I got to thank everybody at Legacy Esports, Jared Crawford especially. He put a good amount of time into the truck. Kevin Kirchar, Blackstone Management, everything they do for us over at Legacy, and thanks to you all for broadcasting as always.
That's Christopher Hill. He's your runner-up finisher here tonight at Kansas Speedway. Congratulations once again. Best of luck next week.
Thank you all.
All right, we do indeed have our third place finisher on standby, so let's talk to him now. Will Cooley, the driver of the 00. Hey, Will, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yep, got you guys.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, closing stages of this race, you were flying, worked your way from fifth up to third. The gap was closing from you to the top two. Did you just run out of laps? You think if you had maybe another 10, 15 laps, we'd be talking to you in victory lane here tonight?
Well, that sounds pretty nice. I'd sign up for that. I possibly so. Like Andrew's pretty good. A lot of those guys are pretty good up there. Also, if I don't get a penalty on myself, just kind of make it a silly maneuver there. That probably gives me a little better chances too. But yeah, our truck was really good. Enjoyed racing everybody. Just I do kind of wish we could have gone a little bit more because I was having fun there. Ripping the top, getting the tires worn a little bit, sliding a little bit. That was a pretty good time.
Yeah, we saw a number of drivers have some problems here tonight and mount some comeback runs from the back to the front of the field. Now, we saw you have the pass through there. We're assuming it might have been possibly for lane change. Can you confirm that for us? And also, I mean, what was it like working your way through traffic from the back up to the front of the field?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can confirm it was indeed a lane change. I tend to have a bad habit of changing lanes when that's the rule, and then I never change lanes when that's not the rule. So I got to kind of figure it out there. But that was kind of good just to sort of test and see what our stuff was like in dirty air. There's definitely a difference back there. You could feel it through the wheel, and you could just feel the different downforce, and the air was just much more turbulent and volatile back there. But that was pretty fun to try to come up through there and just put yourself in different positions. Everybody kept it clean, which was kind of my worry. With Kansas and so much on throttle time, so much draft, you don't really know what it's going to be like. But that was pretty fun to try to come up through there. I did probably push a little too hard, and I think I killed our long run that stint. Just trying to get through there a little too quick, so I could have been a little more patient. Probably would have, saved a little time at the end, but ultimately, driver needs to not make that mistake in the first place and get himself in trouble. So just need to clean that up.
We ended up seeing as well here today, and I'm not really sure how much of a factor it played in with the track conditions, maybe just with visibility, but a couple of occasions here, especially on that long green flag run where the track was bathed in sunlight. Next time we come around to the start finish line, it's completely in shadows. So, did that in any way affect the way that the truck handled?
Maybe a little bit. I think visually is probably the biggest thing. That was pretty crazy, those big swings, because there were a couple of different laps like that where it was bathing in sun, like you said, and then it was like somebody cut the lights off and you could hardly see. I've seen that at a couple different places, and for me, it's like visually more than it is like the handle. I mean, yeah, the track's going to cool a little bit, your balance will change maybe, but just making sure you have like your turning cues and whatnot is for me the biggest challenge, especially with a pretty new track like Kansas. I think they scanned it pretty recently after it was paved, so it's it's already dark to begin with, and then when you turn the lights out like that, that can be a little bit difficult. But I mean, our truck was pretty good all throughout, regardless of conditions, and excited for tomorrow. And do want to give a shout out to Whitetail Smokeless. Appreciate them being on board. And my gosh, Sim Seats, Sparko. We got a bunch of great people behind us at Lockdown Racing, and happy to show those guys off.
The last few times we've seen you out there on the racetrack, Bristol, Dover, here tonight at Kansas, up inside the top five consistently. So, congratulations on another great performance here tonight. And before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors, do some shout outs.
Yeah, big one, Whitetail Smokeless. Those guys are awesome to me. Sim Seats as well. Sparko too. I've got some Sparko gloves over here that I'm trying to get the hang of. I'm kind of weird. I drive barefoot and bare hands, and I'm trying to teach myself not to do that. Uh, those guys are great to us. MPI, McConey Setup Shop. They're also great to us, and everybody at Lockdown Racing. And I appreciate you guys for what y'all do, and have enjoyed running this league so far. And hopefully we keep in good turnouts. And it's been really enjoyable to run so far.
Well, that's Will Cooley. He brings the 00 home third place here tonight at Kansas Speedway. Congratulations once again on a great run, and best of luck in your next start, maybe next week at Iowa.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
go down to victory lane. Second time this season for Andrew Navarro. Andrew, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Kyle Lawrence said it perfectly. You did not put a wheel wrong today at all. Execution on pit road was perfect. Dominated this race here today at Kansas Speedway. Second win on the season. I mean, we knew you were fast out of the gate with that lightning fast pole time, but did you know that that was going to translate to this being as strong a truck as it was?
Um, Not really. I knew from the C opens that a lot of the guys were gonna be running at the top. I loaded in the bottom line setup, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try it. And yeah, it honestly surprised me. We weren't the fastest ever on the first run, but once we did green flag pit stops, I was able to pull out quite a gap because of the short fuel.
We talked about coming into this race, a lot of drivers up there inside of the top 10, still a long regular season to go, but never too early to start making plans to solidify yourself a spot in the playoffs. I mean, here tonight, second win on the season. You get yourself a stage win as well, kind of carbon copy of what you did back at Martinsville. So, obviously, got to be feeling good about that. How does that build the confidence level heading into the upcoming races?
Yeah, I haven't seen the schedule yet, but I mean, it definitely helps. I was unfortunately unable to make it last week, so I think that probably put me in a bit of a situation in the points, but just try to get them back.
Andrew, a great run for you here tonight. You close it out with a stage win and a checkered flag. You become the third different multi-time winner on the season as well and carry some very good momentum into Iowa next week. We'll let you get back to celebrating, but before we do that, we're going to give you the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I like to thank Premier, Tranquility Esports, all the people there. Trying to blank, Martin Sports and iRacing iFlag.
Andrew Navarro, he is your winner here tonight, coast to coast, pole to win at the Kansas Speedway. Congratulations once again, a job well done, and best of luck next week at Iowa.
Thank you.
So as the celebration continues for one Andrew Navarro here today, I guess we could kind of call this the Midwest swing, as next week these drivers going to be taking to Iowa Speedway, and then we head back to the East Coast at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's when FRN will have their next coverage of this series on May 25th. But a great one here tonight. Again, I mean, this is, as I said, this has seemed to be the trend the last couple of weeks. Bristol, Dover, Darlington, and now Kansas. We get those early cautions out of the way, enter into the second stage, and it is strategy from there on.
Yeah, we saw that out there tonight. Just a very clean second part of the race, and Navarro just ran a very clean, pretty much perfect race all race long, and was able to keep all those drivers that had similar speed, maybe even a little quicker, like maybe Hogan or Phillip behind him all race long, just because of how well he ran today and how well his strategy turned out.
Really interesting too. If you look at the last couple of weeks, Christopher Hill winning last week at Darlington, Andrew Navarro winning this week at Kansas. Both of these drivers certainly looking like they're going to be in the conversation for playoff slots. And the two venues last week and this week that we've been to, they are races 1 and 2 of the playoffs. So you got to think that a little bit of homework was being done by all these drivers that right now are trying to fight for playoff positions of what kind of a setup they want to bring later on this fall.
You know, a lot of these drivers are already thinking playoffs, especially these drivers that are up in the top part battling for the points lead right now, like Boyd Hogan and those other legacy esports guys, TJ Crampton among them. They're really just trying to prep for the playoffs at this point because they feel pretty safe up there at this point, and they're looking forward to the remainder of the season here, Seth.
Well, what an incredible race we had here tonight at Kansas Speedway. Andrew Navarro, your winner, second win on the season for him here in the Reaper Speed Lab Truck Series. And that brings our coverage to a close. We appreciate you all joining us here on your Wednesday evening. Kyle, appreciate you joining me up here in the booth tonight.
I appreciate you having me here, Seth, and can't wait to look forward to Charlotte here in a couple weeks. Next week we have the off week for Iowa, but once again, great performance by Navarro out there tonight. Perfect race.
Absolutely. Well, certainly hope to see you folks in 2 weeks' time when we head to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But until then, for Kyle Lawrence, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.